Hello, I'm Dr. Jim Siebert. It's time for our tropical forecast update for YouTube. Now, we've got some interesting things going on in the tropics right now. Of course, we've been talking about Fred for quite some time. It's in the eastern Gulf. It really isn't going to have any impact on us at all here in southeast Texas, but it's certainly having some issues there for Florida. Tropical storm warnings in effect in the panhandle of Florida, going up to the north from there. Now, Grace is becoming more of an interesting situation for us, and we have more questions than answers, which we're going to talk about here in the next couple of minutes. But let's come on in and talk about Fred for the moment. Lots of rain now. Most of the heavy stuff's still been offshore, but you see rain including for good portions of Florida from Fort Myers to Tampa. This is all heading up here towards Panama City in the areas of red. That's where the tropical storm warnings are currently in effect. And so that's going to be more of an issue. It's taking Fred a little bit longer to make landfall. The current numbers on it, now winds are at 45 miles per hour. It is moving to the north-northwest at 10, so it did slow down just a little bit. And that's, I guess, somewhat problematic. Now, as we look at the forecast now, winds are going to get close to 50 to 60 miles per hour between now and 1 o'clock on Monday, because as we were talking about this earlier in the week, the longer it has time in the Gulf of Mexico, the longer it has time to organize and get stronger. So that is probably exactly what's going to happen in this situation, as opposed to if it had kept going at a quicker pace, it already would have made landfall or be making landfall right now. So we'll watch that carefully for our friends into Florida. But like I said, it really isn't going to have much of an impact on us, and then the whole thing will start to move off to the east and to the north going into the middle of next week. Well, let's turn our attention now to Grace. Now, Grace, the problem with Grace is that it's probably going to take a similar pattern as what happened with Fred, but then it comes into the Gulf. So this is Wednesday morning and afternoon going into Wednesday into Thursday. Watch what happens from here. Possibly becoming a tropical storm again from Thursday to 1 o'clock Thursday. And of course, now we start to see this, and of course it gets our attention in a big hurry. Now, I just did get the 4 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center, and it's better for us in Houston, I guess, because it started turning things more to the left. But again, at this point, there is still a big question mark whether or not Grace will even be anything by the time we get to Wednesday or Thursday. So let's talk about that. Now, in the forecast, this is the GFS. Okay, now watch what happens. Here comes Grace. Okay, so that's Wednesday to Thursday. Now, if you look very carefully at this, okay, so this is kind of the plotting where right now the forecast would have Grace. That's Thursday, about 5:30 at night. Notice the winds around here. Do you see a close circulation? You know how whenever we have like a tropical storm or hurricane, you can actually see the circle where the area of low pressure is. And do you see that here? No, you don't. What you see is kind of a blob. This looks more like a tropical wave to me. Now, Grace, it's very possible that Grace going over the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba might be over land longer, and it could just destroy it completely. And so all that's left is a tropical wave once it gets here to Thursday. So let's take that's the GFS. Let's take a look at the European model to see if there's anything different. Because notice, I mean, you don't even see any closed circulation at all in this. You see this wave moving towards the western part, or the western parts of the Gulf. So here's the European model. We're going to track, so here it goes over land. Now look at this. If it tracks just like that, it really might not be anything left by the time it gets to the Gulf of Mexico. And at this point, we don't know. We really don't. It's like a 60-40. I think it has a better chance of not becoming organized afterwards. Because if you look now at the European, notice, do you see a close circulation? You don't. In fact, you see a line. Do you see that line? That's what a tropical wave looks like, which is just a wave of moisture, a wave of energy, not a closed low. But again, it all depends on where it goes, on what side of Cuba or how long it stays over Cuba, of whether or not Grace is going to be a big problem for us. Now, if you look at this forecast, though, at this point, if this continues, it would probably come here and then start to turn more to the right once it gets into the western parts of the Gulf. So we have to watch this closely. We cannot write this one off. We're not saying it's coming here. We're not saying it's going to be a tropical storm. We're saying we don't know the answers to this one yet, and we have to watch this. So right along with us, right along with our friends at the National Hurricane Center, we are all going to watch the next model runs to see where it goes, and we want to see how close or how far away it stays from land from the Dominican Republic to Cuba into the Gulf of Mexico. That's what's going to determine. If it stays over land longer and it has to kind of cross back and forth like the modeling says it will right now, because that's what these models are saying it will do, then we don't have anything to worry about at all. If not, we could possibly have a tropical storm by the end of next week. That's not the best news, right? But again, we just don't know that yet. So that's why we do our tropical forecast. We put it out here on YouTube, and we'll continue to update it as we get these updates. And we're going to have some patience on this one, because we're not going to have some answers for a while, because we're still talking about several days down the road. It's got a lot of things that have to happen. But for this point, Fred is not a problem. Grace may not be a problem, but we can't write it off just yet. And we will keep you updated. We'll talk to you soon.